Hopefully everything's working. Looks like it's working. Give it one more minute here. Good afternoon, Dave. All right. It's 1 p.m. here where I am anyways. So welcome everyone to the live stream today. Thinking to try to do this weekly and see how it goes. Before I get started, I don't know if you all know that I have a website, asphaltmillingpro.com. I encourage you to take a look at it. It's up and coming, working on it slowly but surely, but it's got a lot of good information there. We got a couple blog pages, and I put some of my latest YouTube videos there. And there's some stuff you can get, some little freebies, so check that out, asphaltmillingpro.com. And we'll keep adding to that over time. Before I got started here, I had some questions that came through in the comments on the channel that I promised that I would answer in the live stream, so I'm going to do those really quick. And to start us off, I don't know if I'm saying this right, but Sirecast 8177. Well, thank you. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day, Eric. So Sirecast 8177, he says, hello, what is the rabbit foot? Have you used the sonic sensors? I was wondering if you use them for a smoother bass. So if you can, make a video how to use them. And so the rabbit foot sensor is that not all the machines are equipped with it. You have to order it with it. But the rabbit foot sensor is that little cylinder that can lower next to your lower conveyor just inside the ski, and it actually inside the side plate, and it allows you to read off the roadway surface instead of the side plate. So it's real handy for lots of things, but the main use for it is like when you're milling like a country road or something that doesn't have curb and gutter. It'll allow you to read off the road surface instead of the uneven surface that your side plate would be on. But it's handy for lots of other things too, like going where there's new curb and gutter that's a foot away from the asphalt and you can't reach it with the side plate to regrade. You can use it in that situation. There's just a ton. Anytime you need to read off of that surface instead of the side plate. And to use it, there's a small button to the left of the forward reverse steering joystick that has it looks like a rabbit foot, the sensor, and has an up and down arrow. So you push that and that'll lower that cylinder, and then you have to activate it on the Level Pro screen. And as soon as I can, I'll shoot a video how to do that. So there's a couple of tricks to it. Sometimes that sensor isn't even active, so you can't see it on your screen. So I'll show you how to make that happen. And the sonic sensor, I'm a firm believer that every machine should have a sonic sensor on it in the back, just in case you have a sensor that fails. Yes, they're very handy for cutting in bass where it's uneven or your side plate is sinking and you need to read off of that surface to the side, because it'll read the actual ground. Or you can adjust the arm that it's on to read pretty much off of anything. It's a very, very handy tool. And sometimes if you don't have the arms, you can make one just to hold the sensor, something you can adjust like what it's aimed at so you can read out different surfaces. I have used them, and it's the same thing. When you plug it into the side of the machine, it'll appear in your list of sensors, and then you can switch to it and calibrate it. And even if you can't calibrate it, like the rabbit foot sensor is the same way. As long as you have grade on one sensor and you switch to that, just leave the number whatever it is and it'll hold you at that point, and you can go up or down from there. Just use it as a reference number. It doesn't have to be perfect. Whatever number it says, it'll stay there. If it says negative 10 inches, that's totally fine. It'll still work and it'll still hold grade at what you started at. So that's that. Hope that answers your question. and I'll try to make a video how to use them. I don't honestly have a sonic sensor. That's one of my requests with the company to give me one, so I have it with me. But at the company I'm working for right now, we bounce from machine to machine to machine. We don't have one assigned machine, so it's a little hard to know what machine I'm going to be with per day, so I can make a video about that. But I will try. And Spencer the Great says, he commented on my 4-footer ride-along video that I did with the 120 CFI. He said, even on your last short pass where you turned around, you leave the right rear leg or track kicked out. And I think he's asking why I did that. And he said he's kind of new to the 4-footers. So that's the way I prefer to run them. If anyone who has operated that machine or any of those with the leg inside knows how hard it is to turn. And that was a street that was really narrow. And I knew I was going to have to turn around. So that's why I did that. And the other reason was the base was really soft. So you run the risk of having that leg on the inside because that leg carries more weight because of the geometry of where it's located when it's inside. And it'll tend to crush the edge or have the edge roll away. And those machines are kind of top heavy, and you don't want that because it's more dangerous. So after my first pass along the curb, I swung the leg out. And that helps for a couple of reasons. One, the machine's way more stable that way. It turns much sharper that way. And you also can use it as a manual sensor because that track is reading off your surface that you're milling to. So if the side plate starts sinking and you can't hold anything, you can just shut it off and go up or down with that leg, and it'll match that surface because the track is sitting on it. But I would encourage everyone to swing that leg out. When you're running that machine, if you've never done it before, you'll like the way the machine responds. It's much more quick. You can just turn without that leg catching and bucking and causing all kinds of problems, and way less wear and tear on the machine. And you can get to the grease points that are hidden behind it. So that's why I did it. And then the last question, we only have 3, and then I'll get to the queue. I see some questions coming in. It says, looking for a great way to calibrate my sensors to actual what the drum is cutting at. And that was the older Level Pro video that I did. That was Mr. S85 that asked it. And I did a little tricks video of that older Level Pro because some of the stuff was less obvious of how to do it. That like shortcuts that you can do to, match grades, switch sensors, things like that. And so I can describe it because obviously I don't have one in front of me, and I very rarely am around our last 2 machines that have that, or 1 machine that has that system. So you have your up and down buttons that you use to adjust the grade, and then you have the 2 white buttons below it. Those are your calibrate buttons. Normally, if you touch any of those buttons, it'll ask a menu. I think it says open, no, and you use one of your top buttons to switch it to yes. And when you do that, then your actual display on your screen will be flashing, and you can adjust it. So the way you zero the machine out, the way I usually do is put a box on the ground if you're running a bigger machine, or have somebody help you if you're running a 4-foot machine. Raise the back door up so you can see the drum spinning at idle, and just tickle it down until it's just scratching, and then do that procedure I just said. Hit the calibrate buttons, switch yes to get into the menu where it'll start flashing. Now, here's the thing though, you got to remember, I forgot, you got to turn the automatic off for that side. Once you have it down where it's just scratching, turn the automatic off. Then do that, switch it, set it to 0, set your top screen to 0. So 0 both arrows basically, and then turn that grade back on that side, and then do the same thing for the left side. And after you do that, it'll be calibrated. And just leave it flashing, it'll time out in a few seconds and go back. So I hope that helps you. If I'm ever around that machine again, I'll try to shoot a video how to do it. So on to the queue. So the video's question, this is from Luis. He says, love the videos, thank you. Do you calibrate more than just the MDI and the automatics to get a better cut? Example, the sensitivity of the side plates or anything else? Yes, I do. This company I'm working for now has, I think like 15 machines, something like that. I very rarely see the same one twice. It's taken me a while to get through them all. But the FI machines, in my opinion, the grade control is too slow. So I go in and turn the sensitivities up, and it's, if you don't, no one's ever let you in on this, the numbers working does things backwards. So when you go into the sensitivity for those sensors, a lower number is faster, or not necessarily faster, but more responsive. So normally I think they're set at 5. I usually turn them down to about 3, and sometimes lower depending on the machine to get it to do what I want it to do. Calibrating the MDI is something I definitely do on every machine. Once you do it, it stays, as long as nobody changes a cylinder or puts new shoes on the side plates or the back door. If they do that, you'll have to reset it. It'll be slightly off. And they're not, I miss it on the older level Pro where you could fine tune it. You can get it right perfect. The new software on the FIs will let you do that also. And you'll know because when you push the level button, I think you push it the second time, and then you can hold the, no, it's 3 times, to where it lists all, it has like a picture of the machine and lists all the sensors. When you push MDI, an up and down adjustment will show up instead of just the spinning circle. And if you have that, then you can fine tune it, and that's amazing. You can get it right on the money, and it's so helpful when you're in soft bass. It makes you look like you really know what you're doing, and really you're just using the sensors you have. And people think it's magic. How can you see behind you in that soft bass and get it to hold grade perfectly when that's how you do it? You're actually just reading your MDI and putting the moldboard where you want it. And let's see if I covered that whole question. Yeah, I think so. And let's see. Thanks for the Happy Father's Day from Warren. And let's see, Dave, question for the queue. When you're running a curbside with the rabbit's foot, for some reason we have some spots that raise about 1/4 inch, typically when there's Belgian block. So a trick with the rabbit foot kind of has to do with that same sensitivity setting we were talking about. I actually slow that one down, go up, and that'll help it average more. Because if you look at that rabbit foot, it's reading off a area about that big. So any little adjustment and it'll throw it off, versus your side plate being, what is it, like 5 feet long or something like that. It'll average. So if you slow down the reaction time, by the time it's over a high spot, it hasn't even reacted yet. It'll slow it down so it holds more consistent. And you got to remember too, it's reading like 2 feet in front of the drum versus a side plate reading at the center of the drum. So anything that the machine's leading up to it, it's adapting to a surface that's 2 feet ahead of the cutter. So if you hit a pile or a high spot or anything like that, it's going to pick it up before the cutter actually gets there, if that makes sense. It's a funky geometry. So that's probably why it's doing it. It's rolling up onto a top of a stone or whatever, and it's picking up the machine behind it, so it raises and it messes your grade up. So it's not a perfect system. I don't like to use it in situations like that if I can help it, because it doesn't hold true to grade as easily if the surface is really uneven. It's great for holding grade in certain situations or when that doesn't have to be perfect. But if you're looking for better than 1/4 inch accuracy, it's not the best one to use unless you absolutely have to. But slowing the sensitivity down on it will help. And Tyler says, hearing rabbit's foot always throws me off. Everyone at the company where I work calls it little buddy. Well, it is a little buddy. It does help you out quite a bit. And I used to call it the inside sensor, the front sensor, like there's all kinds of things you can call it, but rabbit foot seems to have stuck because of what the symbol looks like on the controls. So Warren says, question, can you make a video of your shop and yard tour of all the equipment you use every day? So yes and no. The mechanic probably wouldn't like it very much. I know since I put these videos out, it may come across as I'm the mechanic. I can work on the machines. I have before quite a bit, but right now I'm just a grunt operator. I just run the machines and I try to shoot videos while I'm on the equipment. The mechanic will give me stuff to fix for him when I'm on the machines because he doesn't see them all the time. But to get back to your question, our yard really isn't a yard. It's more of a just a big gravel area with a bunch of equipment stored there. Most of the work on the machines happens out in the field, remotely. Very little of it actually gets fixed in the shop. It's more of just a storage area for parts and the equipment that's not out being used. So it'd be a little tough for me to do that, but I can probably try to do it on a weekend when no one's there, show some of the equipment, but most of the equipment isn't there at any time. And okay. Eric, can you make a video of calibrating the machine? I can try. I've been trying to describe it. A big hurdle that I've got is a way for a microphone to record me while the machine is running, because obviously it's louder than me. Sometimes I can get my editing software to bring my voice out a little better, but I'll try to do it and to see how it comes out. And it may have to be where you got to crank the volume up to hear me, or to see what I'm doing. Maybe I'll do a voiceover, see if that works. And let's see, moving on. Calibrating the machine. Can you use a rabbit foot on bumpy roads, or does it have to be a flat surface? From Eric. It kind of gets back to Dave's question. You can, but you want to slow the sensitivity down on it to make it where your machine isn't just bouncing all over the place. Sometimes if it's coming up to a pile or something, I'll just switch it off till it goes through it and then turn it back on again. If the tracks are on a fairly flat surface, you can do that too. Or switch to slope for that section. I was thinking about this the other day when I was running the machine. I was using slope a lot, and not for slope. I was using it as just another sensor to hold me like at the level I was at. Like I was skimming the side of a manhole after I had jumped it. And the area I was on was really pretty flat. It wasn't up and down, but there was some piles on the ground, and it wasn't like where the tracks would be on an even surface where I could shut it off. So the FIs make it so easy with just that one button push. It looks like a little padlock. You just push that, which is weird, but that's what it looks like. You push that button and it just matches your slope and makes it active, and then you can just as easily switch back to grade the same way. And that is crazy handy to be able to use slope as just a way of holding you at the same angle despite what the tracks drive over. So I use that all the time. So that's something you can use too when a surface is bumpy until you get to a smoother surface. But yeah, the surface does need to be pretty smooth for it to work right. It's more of a get you close enough sensor and not like a fine-tuned, perfect whole grade sensor. And then Dave says, I'll give it a shot. Cool, let me know. You'll get used to how to use it and what situations you can use it and not use it in. Yeah, if you've got like a lumpy surface, it's going to go all over the place, but that may help. See, Edre says, what's the best way to keep accurate grade as you grind through a speed bump? So my trick with speed bumps is once the front tracks cross over it and the side plate is about to touch the speed bump, I shut the grade control off and just roll through it. And then I watch my actuals on the side plates until they come back to 0 or whatever grade I'm cutting, and then turn it back on. So that's the way I do it. Sometimes the speed bump doesn't go all the way to the curb. And if that's the case, you can read grade on that side and then match your slope and use slope on the other side to hold the machine while you go through it. You can do that too. So I hope that helps. The only other way is by feel. Sometimes I'll do it just, I call it the butt level, basically just by feel of the machine. I'll look off the edge of the machine at the horizon or some point on a house or whatever is around me, and you'll see the machine move as it's going up and down, and I'll just dial the numbers and try to hold it the best I can at the same spot. And surprisingly, that actually comes out fairly well sometimes once you get used to it. So that's how I do speed bumps. The real short speed bumps are the easiest ones because you can just shut the grade off and go right through them. Okay, Luis says, do you change any sensitivity to the front tracks, which helps give you a better cut going over piles? Well, there really isn't any sensitivity to the front tracks that you can adjust. Lost my note. There isn't anything you can really adjust. You can speed up but no one's able to get to these menus unless you're a working mechanic or you know one willing to give you their code. But they're less and less likely now because the code is tied to the mechanic. So if anything bad happens, they can go back and see who gave the code. You can speed up the speed of the legs that way, but I wouldn't recommend it. And like I said, most people can't even get to the menu to do it. It'll be locked out. But what you can do is change the sensitivity, and there's nothing wrong with playing with the sensitivity. You can adjust it. Just remember where it was and put it back. You'll know when you get it too high because the machine will search. It'll be like almost, it'll make the grade worse because it'll be bouncing like this, trying to find the grade because it'll overshoot it instead of being able to stay right on track. But feel free to lower it down, see what happens, find the number that works best for you. Mainly piles just suck. If you can get them out of the way, the better, because you just have to slow down. That's the only way you can really deal with them. And this one, your name looks like an HS. That's the way I can put it. Can you change the track and side plate sensitivity? So yeah, that's what I was just talking about there. Not the tracks, but the side plates you can. Any of the sensors, you can change the sensitivity. And I guess I haven't described how to get to that. But that's, you push on the FIs is the easiest to change. On the older level Pro, you can change it, but it's a lot harder to change it. But in the FIs, you push the home button on the bottom and then go to settings and then to level. And it'll show a list of everything you can adjust. And just look for the symbol for the side plate. It'll say side plate left, side plate right. You can adjust the rabbit foot, you can adjust there. And then you push that button and it'll give you a gauge. You can adjust it up or down. And then you can just hit the little back button on the bottom to get out of it. And then push level to go back to your grade control. So that's how you adjust that, if anyone doesn't know how. Andre says, do you have any advice for keeping the machine nice and straight for a straight cut? You see a lot of zigzag lines that look so bad. Yeah, it does look bad when it just zigzags. Paint your own line if you can, or do it the old farmer method where you just look at something way out in the distance and don't take your eyes off of it. But the main thing that you can do is just try to resist touching the stick. It's hard to not like a steer left or right, but the more you can just leave it alone and let it go, then the straighter you'll be. Like the truck drivers around here are famous for wanting to drive on top of your lines, so you can't sight down the machine at your line to see where you're going. So you have to like get somebody to force the truck drivers to stay off of your line because you can't see past like 10 feet in front of the machine. So you can put hash marks for yourself in between so it's something more to follow. You can string line, follow the string line. That's the best way. And just try to not move too much on the machine. If you're leaning off the side and looking and following your line, it'll be different than if you're more straight like this and looking at your line. So your perspective on it will change. And lots of practice. That's the best way. But it is hard, especially with nothing really to look at. The more it's blocking your way, but keep practicing. It'll get easier. But if it has to be perfectly straight, just advocate for yourself and say like with the foreman or contractor or whatever, and just be like, hey, there's no way I can keep it straight unless you put something down for me to follow, because just winging it isn't going to work. It actually leads me to a question that I wanted to ask out there. How is here in California, most of the bigger milling companies are rental companies that work for all the asphalt contractors. And some, like the company I work for now, does do their own contract work, but it's still for like multiple different contractors. Is that a thing throughout the rest of the country, or where you do that, or is it all mostly in-house where you're paving and milling? Just curious. Do you know how to turn up the pressure on the hose when washing the machine down on the I model? Yes. So they're famous for going out and they don't last that long. But on your valve body on the right hand side of the machine from the ground where you have all the valves, you can turn on and off to the different portions of the machine, like the drum, the hose, the different sprayer nozzles. Underneath that, there will be, it's about yay long, it'll be a brass regulator that comes out and then has a hose attached to it that goes down, and there's a T handle on that. So that will break constantly, and then you'll have very, very little water pressure. And if you need to turn it up, it has a brass washer about half-inch thick that limits how far it can screw in. And so if you take that T handle, undo the lock nut, screw it all the way out, and then screw that limiter off of it, and then screw the T handle back in with the lock nut, it'll let you turn it up higher than the factory really wants you to. Don't go crazy or you'll blow stuff up, and your water pump will be doing, this bypass will open and it'll be spraying water everywhere. I like to do it on the gauge that's on the valve body on the right hand side. You can turn it up to where there's an arrow on it on the gauge. Don't go higher than the arrow, but turn it up to the arrow with all the valves shut off. Turn it up to where it's right there and you'll probably like it. That's a good spot. But keep some extras of those valves handy because they go out, the spring inside breaks and then they'll just bypass all your pressure, and that's not a good thing. Lewis says, do you prefer power or eco? I'm assuming you mean eco for the FI. I go back and forth. I run eco as much as possible. I'm old school. I'm used to the old full throttles, machine screaming all the time. It took me a long time to trust eco, that it actually had better tooth wear. But it does. It's crazy. It does. The machine knows what it's doing. And especially on the 210 where you have the 2-speed gearbox on the drum, that's even better because it'll rev up and then shift into second gear, and then the motor's really purring, but the drum is still spinning like crazy. So I use eco as much as possible just for the tooth wear, and the machine's quieter. Sometimes the material will get too chunky though, or the machine will surge and it can't keep up with the surface. And then I'll put it on power, that'll smooth it out. But really you get almost the same power from eco or power, just power gives it faster, where eco will try its best to keep it slowed down until it can't anymore, and then it'll power up. And then there's sort of situations where the material is real slabby and chunky where I just put it on manual and full throttle, and that'll smooth that out. And little known fact that I actually myself just discovered the other day, that you can push the front moldboard control either up or down, and then the little shortcut will come up on the bottom left of the display where you can get to it, and you can push that and you can adjust the down pressure to hold that front door down harder, and that helps with that too if you ever run into that problem. Just while that was in my head, I thought I'd let you know about that. I never knew it until then, and I like, wow, okay, learn something new. Always learning something new every day, it doesn't matter. Dave says we mill in-house. Yeah, a lot of companies do that. I guess that works if you keep one person on it all the time. But when you bounce people around, even the company I'm at now, you bounce people around and machines get destroyed and wore out way faster than when you have your own assigned machine like I used to. Andre says, I saw one of your videos showing 3D grinding. Can you explain what 3D is? Is it run by GPS? So yes and no on GPS. It is run by GPS in the sense that the GPS, so it's called Total Station. I'm honestly just learning it myself. I've known what it is, but I haven't been around the equipment until now that has it. So it's the first time getting my hands on it. Um, Basically, there's a model of the job site that's uploaded to a computer, and it knows at any place on the job site what that grade needs to be exactly, like within an eighth of an inch. It's crazy. Or better. I'm not even sure. I think it's eighth of an inch is what they told me. And so it uses GPS to know where the machine is on the job site specifically. And then there's prism sensors up on top of the machine that are picking up a laser basically from the total station, and it follows the machine around. It's kind of crazy. Like you'll drive the machine and the head on the laser will turn and follow you like this. So it's pretty cool. And you can literally go anywhere on the job site that needs to be ground and turn the grade control on, and the machine will drop to exactly where it needs to be. And you can't, most of the time that's great. Some areas where you need to go a lot of digging, you have to still kind of use common sense, because it'll try to lower the machine down 2 feet or something like that, which isn't going to work. Obviously, it's going to bottom out. So then you put offsets in it to make it so you can make the multiple passes and then keep changing the offset until you get to where you need to be. Or you just watch, you can watch that has an actual, just like any other grade control, and you can mill it manually until you get down close enough that you can turn the GPS on. But I was really surprised by it, that even when you make like 2 passes, the machine's grade control is doing nothing. I mean, it's controlling the machine, but it's not using the side plates, it's not using slope, it's not using anything. And we made 2 passes, and the second pass, the 0 matched perfectly off of GPS and the 3D station sensor. And I was just blown away. I'm like, wow. And we were, I don't know, 150 feet from the laser, and it was able to control it that well. So it's a genius system, and it's really, really cool. And I'm looking forward to being around it more and playing with it. And I'll try to get some more videos up about it, but we do it kind of rarely. It's an upsell for the customers to be able to have it, because the machine itself has to have a lot of equipment put on it to be able to do it. So it's expensive. So it's not an everyday thing for us. But if you ever get to play with 3D, it's cool. And so basically 3D meaning that it can control the machine 100% left, right, up, down, forward, back. Like it just puts the machine down and runs it, and it'll grind it right exactly what it needs to be. And it's real similar on dirt work. They have it for blades too and dozers. It's the same system. So I'm familiar with the company CTI. Do they still do pulverizing, soil stabilization? If you run work in pulverizers, what do you prefer, grinding or stabilization? I have not run the mixers yet. That's pretty cool, CTI. I used to work for a company in the Bay Area up north from here, Delta Grinding. I worked for them for like 24 years, something like that. And when I moved down here, I started to Southern California. I've started with CTI. So I've been here now. So no, I do not work on the stabilization side. They haven't needed me to yet. I've moved around the pulverizers. They're pretty cool machines. I'm curious about that, but right now I'm too useful on the milling side, so they haven't put me there yet. I do like the idea of being in an air-conditioned cab, though. That does sound really nice. But I've heard that when it's really, really hot, like out in the desert, Indio area and out that way, that in Palm Springs, stuff like that, that it does get so hot that the AC in the pulverizers can't even keep up. But I'm sure it's something I'll be in eventually, and of course when I do, I will be starting to put videos out on it as I pick up different tips and tricks with that too. Love using the 3D our company uses at airports. Okay, so someone else is familiar with 3D. It's almost stupid amazing, isn't it? Like it takes all the work out. All you do is drive the machine and load trucks. Do you still have a super named Eric who runs stabilization side? Yes, we do. In fact, I worked with Eric yesterday. They have him um, supervise in other jobs. He helps out every once in a while, and so he was with me just doing a school parking lot job yesterday. So I do see Eric a lot. He's a cool dude. So only, so I see. So only Dave works in house. Everybody else, anybody else working for a company that is like a rental or contract company, or it seems like everybody's in house. But yeah, I've gotten to be known in the company and the other company too. I still get phone calls from my other company up north where they are like, hey, how do we fix this? Or this happened. How can you do that? I'm like, man, I'm running a machine right now. I can't help it. So yeah, it's become that way so that's why I made the YouTube channel. So now I'm like, here, and I'll just copy paste and throw them the link to a video I did on it. It's much easier that way. Yeah, 3D is amazing if it's running smooth. If it goes down, there can be issues waiting for the reboots. Yep, exactly. I've seen that happen several times. Or if you have multiple stations and it starts losing one station, then you'll hear the beep beeping going on that you lost signal, and you gotta then go in the computer and jump onto one of the other, for lack of better words, transmitters that's further down on the job, because sometimes it won't chase you from one to the other. I've seen. So even though it does kind of stupefy the process where you're just like driving the machine, you still have to be paying attention, or things can go bad really quick. And especially at airports, they really hate mistakes. They want that grade perfect. They don't want it to fill in holes or anything. So at Endure, when did you work for CTI, or is that how you know them, or are you just familiar with them from other companies? Just out of curiosity. So far, everybody here is great. I like everyone. Haven't really met anybody that I clash with. You know, every company you have that, but everyone here is cool. 3D is amazing, runs smooth. What's your personal opinion on the grinders? Are you a working guy, or do you like Road Tech or Cats? Only ran working. Curious about the others. I don't want to make anybody angry, but yes, I prefer working. Cats used to be too much like a tractor. They didn't have much technology on them. They've gotten better since they bought Batelli. Batelli is a European country like Workin. They had a lot of similarities to them. And you'll start seeing, it's been a little while since I've been on a cat grinder, but you'll see a lot of similarities to Workin stuff on the new cats because of the Batelli crossover. Let's see. Road Techs, I've never operated a Road Tech. To me, they look like a piece of farm equipment. They're just so archaic looking, in my opinion. Some guys absolutely love them. I know they've come a long ways with the electronics. They're getting better with the grade controls and things like that. But the fact that they're still on 3 legs, I think it's really weird that they haven't come along with the times. Maybe they do have a 4-track out lately. I've never seen one. Way back in the day when I was first starting, I ran a CMI, which isn't even around anymore, I don't think, a CMI 525. It was a 3-track. And that was the same way. It was like an old farm tractor, basically. All mechanical controls. You actually had hydraulic valves on the dash to turn things on and off. Nothing was electric. Had a big V8 cat in it. But I still liked that CMI better than I like the way Road Techs look and operate. And we had a cat grinder for a season and a half, and we couldn't keep it running. Most of it was Caterpillar engine problems, but even the machine hydraulically, it had a lot of issues. Road Tech is trash. But it's so funny because you'll see a lot of companies that have like swear by Road Tech. I don't know, maybe because they are simple. They've got to be simple because they look simple. Like there's nothing complicated about them. So you worked for CTI for 4 years. Okay. So you're pretty familiar with the people here. I don't want to get you in too much detail, but how long ago was that? Just out of curiosity. You're like the cool OG that don't mind show us new schools how to do it. I'm just a nerd when it comes to the grinders. I am. And so if there's any little thing about them that I can pick up, I dig into it. I'm the guy that we get a new machine. I take the manuals home and read them for fun just so I understand everything. Left about 2 years ago. Okay. So there's some new people here that have come on, I think, about that time. Some young guys, which is encouraging to see. There's a couple that are like 19, 20, 21, something like that. Really, they're doing really well, and it's very encouraging to see some new people, young people coming into the industry that actually want to work and learn, and they're doing a great job. So I think they're going to be the future faces of the company. But yeah, I'm liking it so far. So what's everyone else's take? Road Trek, Road Tech, Road Tech, Workin, or Cat? We can get some perspective from other people here in the chat. Yep, manual weekend reading, exactly. Some things are a little hard to understand, but I would suggest grabbing the Level Pro manual also. Usually it's a separate manual on some of them. Maybe they combined it all into the main one now. I have to look. I haven't honestly read the whole thing, but I have the 210 manual, the 210 FI, so I'll have to check that out. See if the Level Pro part of it is in it. Never run Cat or Road Tech, just Workin. Yep. What's the most common mechanical issue we see that affects Workin machines? That's a hard one because they don't really break down often. What we're seeing right now with our mechanic here is if you don't maintain the bearing side of the drum, because that side door swings open, if you let the side door rattle loose, I think I made a video about that, how to keep that tight, how to reset it. We've now actually drilled and threaded a bolt hole to where we bolt it shut so it can't vibrate loose, because a lot of the guys don't know how or don't pay attention to whether when it starts getting loose, that snout on the end of the drum, it looks like a cone. So it's like a cone that comes out like this, and then the bearing slides over it, and that's what holds it from going up and down. And that it'll start bouncing in there, basically up and down, and it'll destroy that bearing and destroy the snout. And that's kind of the main thing we're seeing happen now. I'm sure Workin will change the design eventually, but that's about it. Sometimes once the machines start getting older, you start losing switches. They'll start getting gummy and start not working sometimes. And the solenoids, you'll have those start leaking. They'll come loose, or this for whatever reason, because of the expansion and contraction of the valve bodies, the O-rings under the solenoids will start leaking. And new machines from Workin, for some reason in the last couple of years, they don't know how to tighten hydraulic hoses. You'll just have all kinds of random loose holders. You'll have lots of random loose hoses and hoses where the crimp leaks. That's just, for some reason, has been a problem in the last couple of years, I've noticed. That's nothing specific to the machine actually being a weak point. It's just manufacturing problems. Let's see, let me catch up here. So Dave, doing it 2 years, only use Workin. You're not missing much. As far as I'm concerned, Workin is the best. And it says Workin all the way, still running at 2000 DC. Oh, I love that machine. You know what I would do to be able to go back to running one of those? I loved how the rear tracks, the steering was proportional. It wasn't just you had to bump it. You could cut some radiuses like so nice with the 2000. That was a good machine, really good machine. Put a vacuum system on the conveyor and I'd be happy. I'd run one of those forever. Okay, off of that. Let's see. Meeting working mechanics tomorrow. Anything cool codes unlock for me besides the slope sensitivity? They did that last time. So they turned up the slope limit on you so it doesn't beep at 10% and lock out your controls. That's good. That's the most stupid, dangerous thing that Workin did, in my opinion. It's fine. Let it beep at you when you exceed the slope. That's cool. I like that. But don't slow the controls down so you can't correct the machine if something goes bad. Like, I think that's the dumbest thing. Let's put the machine in the most dangerous situation possible and then slow the controls down so you can't get out of it. Doesn't make any sense to me. So if you're ever around working reps, preach that to them. Say that's the stupidest thing ever. You need to fix it. As far as that goes, if you get a good one, they'll adjust things for you. Like if the steering is slower than you'd like it, sometimes they can go in and turn it up. I mean, it can be turned up. Sometimes they'll do stuff like that for you. Trying to think if there's anything else. Just pick their brain. Anything you want to know. Most of the time they'll have answers for you or they can get it. I don't know where you're located, but if they're a good working dealer, they'll have pretty knowledgeable mechanics that can answer questions for you. People don't realize how important it is to keep the machines greased. Yes, exactly, but not over-greased. Yeah, I think if you're familiar with CTI, you know what I'm talking about. I literally have a grease bucket that I keep with me and a scraper. And when I get around the machines, I will scrape that thing clean. And I can literally fill an entire tooth bucket with excess grease. It's ridiculous when you over-grease the machine. And the older machines used to actually be harmful to over-grease them because they had proximity sensors in the leg tubes that would get covered in grease and stop working. Not good. So just a little grease. Grease is important. Keep where grease is visible, but not pouring out of the legs and pouring out of everything. That's not necessary. Let's see. But yes, grease is important. You wear those steering keys out, everything gets sloppy. The legs, the machine starts doing the hula in the ground because the legs are so wore out. So your Hero 81. Run a Roadtech RX 600 approximately 8 years. Company loved the idea of switching the drum out from 7 to 4 until they had to. Yeah, I'm not familiar with how that system works, but Workin has got it down now. You can swap the drum in about 20 minutes. As long as you have a way to efficiently slide the drum out and slide the new one in, it's like easy. Let's see, switch from 7 to 4 until they had to do it. Yeah, it's like I said, I don't know how their system works, but Workin has it down. Even on the forfeit grinders, the small grinders, the 120s, it's fairly easy. And I think it's gotten even easier with the newer ones, the John Deere motors. I think they've kind of followed the design of the bigger machines. Do you have any advice on the best way to effectively and efficiently grind out a cul-de-sac? So what I do is I start in the center and I make a pass down the center and I'll work my way towards one side. That way, so I'm cutting one down the center like this. So one down the center and then I'll step over, make another pass, and then step over, make another pass to where when you get on the curved part, you got nothing on your, like let's say you went to the right side, so you're making passes to the right. You've got nothing on your left side to hinder you from being able to steer around it. You're not going to get captured in your cut, scrubbing the back door into it. You've got your zero out there. And then start making those half moon cuts till you get as close to the curb as you can. And then go from the center to the left side, do the same thing. And then by that time, you've just got little stair step slivers around the outside. And I'll usually just grind that in place. Lift the back door up so it can't hurt the curb and grind that around the circle in place. And the nice thing about that too is if you have to put the back tracks up on the gutter pan, you've got that pad of material so you don't tear up the edge with your tracks, if that makes sense, because you're pulverizing, leaving in place that little strip around the outside. And usually it's little enough material that the sweeper can pick it up, if it makes sense doing it that way. But a lot of guys will start on the one side or the other at the curb and try to make those curvy passes coming out to the center, and that's just way harder on the machine and, in my opinion, and slower. So that's how I do it. Let's see. Do you have any use extra grease? That's funny. Use the extra grease to grease the ratchet binders. I used to do the same thing. The company I worked for before, I had to low bed every day. I had to haul the machines myself. I had my machine. I hauled my machine every day. And yeah, I'd reach over with my glove and take a little grease off the leg, rub it on the binder, then rub my finger on the track to clean it off and do it. Yep, exactly. Lewis, will do. Yeah, our company has a training set up with the dealer Nixon Egley out of Tracy. Okay. I'm very familiar with that area up there. What company do you work for, if you don't mind telling me? I might know some guys. So you're going to have Chris from Nixon Egley more than likely. Super cool dude. You can tell him that Jeff said hi. He'll know exactly who I am if you talk to Chris. He's one of my go-to people when I don't know something. I will call him even now and pick his brain. The guy's a genius. And that's kind of what he does as the startups. He used to just be a mechanic, but he's kind of stepped up to support right now. So he worked for DeSilva Gates. I used to work for DeSilva Gates when they were DeSilva and Gallagher and Burke many years ago. I started at ABSL when I was 18 and got in the union, and then I went from them to DeSilva Gates. Then I took about a year off from milling, and then I started working for Delta Grinding. So you should know all those company names. And I worked for Delta Grinding for, well, until about a year ago. Well, not even that. I still worked for them. Yeah, it's been about 6 months to a year, and I went back to CTI. I worked for CTI for a little bit, then left, went back to Delta, and then went back to CTI now. Let's see. What's the max depth you can grind on the newer 210 and 220 FIs? Not sure about the 220. We don't have one. The 210, if you know what you're doing and how to do it, you can get down to about 15 and a half inches. Not on your first pass, though. If you have to get down that deep, it'll do 13 on a perfectly flat ground. Most of the time, 12 is still lit. But if you make one pass at 12 inches and then turn around and put your drive in the cut, you can go down 15 to 16 inches in one shot. Your only limiting factor is that drive, but the side plates and the front door and everything will go all the way up to where you can cut that deep. Most contractors don't know you can, and I wouldn't suggest showing them unless you want them to make you do it all the time, because it's not fun. It's impressive to look at on the tape measure, though, but it's not fun. But sometimes it's necessary if you don't want to have to make two passes. That job that I posted a video on where I was running the 120, that was actually a 14-inch cut. I put 8 inches because my GoPro went dead, and I couldn't show the second pass in the hole. But I actually did 8 and 6, I think, to get down. Yeah, 8 and 6 to get all the way down. So I had to go back in the hole with the 120 and grind out some sand to get down there. So if you got any more questions, guys, we got about 7 minutes until the end of the stream here for today. Oh, that's an easy one. I prefer the big machines. I really don't like running the 120s. I will, but I don't like it. Mainly for the reason of that inside track. It's just such a pain in the neck. But if everything's working right on the machine and I can slide it out, then it's not bad. I remember the older ones of those way back many years ago. You used to have to pull that leg out by hand. You'd set it all the way down, work the pin out, which if nobody ever did it, the pin wouldn't come out. And then you had to pull it out by hand. Then they made them hydraulic. Now they're fully automated. It's pretty cool, but still like the big machines. That's my favorite. The little tiny ones are, but they're not good for any kind of grade control. Most of them are kind of manual completely now. But I have run the W50s and 60s. Those were the ones with the rear load, if I remember right. Little tiny guys, good for trench lines and stuff like that. They were cute little grinders, but I didn't like it. Any advice on avoiding extra teeth wear, excessive like running more water or slowing down? Both of those. Run more water and slow down. After a while, you'll develop a feel. You know when you're pushing your teeth too hard. Eco mode on the newer machines does help tooth wear quite a bit. But the more water, the better. Paving companies don't want you to use water because they can't pave until it dries out. But I don't care. I'll run as much water as I can get because they don't have to change the teeth. I do. So if you're a paving and grinding company, you're probably more concerned with tooth life because you're buying the teeth. I don't really have that issue because the company buys the teeth. It's more about, and they put them in the mixers, so they don't really care if they're still good when I take them out. But the more water, the better is the key. And too much forward speed without the drum moving fast enough will wash the bodies out and they'll stop rotating. So for the majority of milling, keep it under 80 foot a minute, 80 to 90. But the slower you go, the better the tooth life, of course. Makes sense. So Dave, you have to go 2 inches around manholes. Yep, you can literally, the little ones like that, you can literally just put the tire on top of the manhole and just drive it in circles. They work really well for that. Whether that's worth it for them, I don't have a whole separate machine for it. I don't know, but yeah. Dre, I won't answer that one. I might get in trouble, and I don't know who watches my videos. I like both of them. They're both great people. Any advice on speed for cutting 1 inch or 2 inch cuts? With the new ones now, as long as you accelerate slowly enough to get the machine to kick into second gear for the 210s, you can fly if it's not too hard. 100, 120 foot a minute is about max for me to hold good grade. But I recommend 80 to 90 to be your top speed to be able to hold good grade. And especially if you're running like a 207 that doesn't have the second gear to spin the drum fast enough so you don't run your pattern out. And any of the older machines, if you don't keep it about under 80 foot a minute, in my opinion, you run the pattern out too much. It just gets so coarse that you're not really holding grade anymore. You have to dig down so deep to still get your depth because the teeth are leaving so much between the teeth because you're running the pattern out, if that makes sense. Well, before we go, I've got to wrap up for today. I'm going to try to do it again next Sunday around the same time. I'll put out let's just say 1 o'clock. I think that'll work for next Sunday too. So we'll do that next Sunday unless I can't. And if for some reason I can't, I'll put something out saying that it's canceled. But keep an eye out look at the channel and see if one is scheduled or not. But check out asphaltmillingpro.com. I have a tooth wear cheat sheet you can download for free. There should be a pop-up that comes up for that. If not, check in the description of this live stream. I think I have a link for it there. But I'd like to get some traffic to the website, so check it out and keep an eye out. I'm going to be putting more blog posts up often. They'll have some guides, so that'll be handy for you guys to be able to check out. Andre says, I really appreciate your content. Hope you continue to post. Not a lot of current content on grinding out there. Thank you. I know grinding keeps you busy enough, but love your stuff. Thank you. I'm going to try. It's hard sometimes to get there early or stay there late so I can shoot a video, but I'm doing the best I can and with what equipment I'm on that's in good enough shape to put on camera. Thanks for the love. I'm glad people are liking the content. There'll definitely be more coming. Maybe I'll upgrade some of my camera equipment so I can do more, a little bit better quality. All right, so it's 2 o'clock, so I'm going to sign off. Thank you, everybody, for your comments, and we'll see you on the next stream next Sunday. And pass the word around. Let's get some more people here. But until then, hey, you guys, stay safe. Later.